Welcome to Modern Stoic Insights. Have you ever noticed how some guys seem different after being single for a while? They seem calm and collected, as if they've figured something out, while the rest of us are still searching. What if I told you that the longer a man goes without a relationship, the more he unintentionally stumbles into one of the most potent theories in history, one that both emperors and prisoners have used to find freedom in the most oppressive situations? I found this connection in the most brutal way possible, and today I'm going to show you exactly how prolonged singlehood can turn an ordinary man into an accidental Stoic philosopher, whether he realizes it or not. For months at first, it was the typical tale of dating apps, awkward first meetings over coffee that tasted like disappointment, and the occasional glimmer of hope that would flare up and die faster than a cheap match. However, after what I would describe as a nuclear breakup, I was left single for 3 years. You have probably experienced the same thing, sitting across from someone who is quite pleasant and gorgeous, and all you can think about is, why am I here? What am I even looking for anymore? Something odd began to happen at that point. I wasn't becoming more desperate. Rather, I was becoming calmer and more discriminating, but not in a manner that was about having impossible standards. Rather, it was about seeing clearly for the first time. This is what no one tells you. What no one tells you. After being alone for a long enough period of time, you begin to distinguish between what you really want and what society pressures you to want, such as Hollywood rom-com expectations. The timeline that everyone is expected to adhere to begins to resemble what the ancient Stoics would have called externals, things outside your control that you've mistakenly attached your happiness to. This is where things get interesting, because, unbeknownst to me, I was following Marcus Aurelius's advice to, you have power over your mind, not outside events realize this, and you will find strength. The indifferent contradiction is what I didn't anticipate learning next, however. The Stoics had this idea that things that are nice to have but shouldn't determine your happiness or self-worth, good health, wealth, and yes, even relationships, are called preferred indifference. You know what's really messed up is that the moment you stop desperately needing a relationship, that's when you become most capable of having a good one. When acquaintances would inquire, still single, how are you handling that? After I'd been single for approximately 4 years, I realized something had changed. My truthful response was, actually, I'm good. Not in that phony, I'm okay, as we all know, but I'm really excellent. I've attained what the Stoics termed apatheia, which is freedom from anxiety and want rather than indifference. Although modest, the change is revolutionary. Let me explain what goes through a single man's mind at this time. He recalls that meeting someone new seemed like an audition, with every word and gesture being evaluated. This pressure goes away, and talks become into sincere explorations rather than performances. That's not indifference, that's freedom, and it changes everything. But this freedom comes with an unexpected cost, the fortress and the bridge. This is where it gets complicated. The longer a man stays single, the more he builds what I call a Stoic fortress, a self-contained world where he needs very little from outside to be content daily, routinely. I still remember the exact moment this hit me. I was on a date with someone objectively amazing, successful, beautiful, intelligent, the kind of person who years earlier would have had me planning how to win them. The ancient Stoic Epictetus was right when he stated, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." Stoic Fortress improved personal finances, maintained emotional regulation, and mastered living space precisely how he wants it. This castle is amazing for personal growth, but it also presents a fresh challenge, constructing bridges to let others in. I will never forget it. My friend Michael, 42, had his life together for nearly 10 years. He had a gorgeous apartment, a successful career, rich friendships, and the freedom to travel whenever he pleased. He embodied what the Stoics called eudaimonia, flourishing through virtue and wisdom. Everything was going well until he met Sarah, who began suggesting minor adjustments to his sacred routine, such as moving their date night to an integration night to accommodate her work schedule, and suggesting a different method of handling money so they could have more spontaneity on the weekends. As Seneca put it, "He who clings to a rock cannot move forward." What happened was that the same self-sufficiency that made him such a full person turned into a barrier to meaningful cooperation. The advanced class in accidental Stoicism teaches the Stoic single man that sometimes the greatest strength isn't resistance, but integration. This balance between preserving your hard-earned self-sufficiency and making room for genuine connection is something I'm still working on every day, which leads me to what may be the most significant shift in mortality perspective. This is an exercise. Memento mori, which means remember you will die, is a Stoic practice. It may sound gloomy, I know, but stick with me because it completely alters the way a long-term single man views relationships. After 5 years of living alone, I had this startling epiphany while visiting my grandfather in hospice care. As I sat next to him and held his hand, I noticed that he wasn't thinking about his professional accomplishments or material belongings, but rather about moments of love, friendship, and meaningful bonds. That's when it dawned on me that the Stoic view of relationships isn't about need or dependence, but about making the conscious decision to say, I know I can be complete alone. However, I chose connection out of plenty rather than need, since this mortality viewpoint eliminates the pointless worries that accompany early dating. How will my friends see her? Does she seem impressive enough on paper? I began asking different questions on dates, since they don't look well together in pictures and instead help you concentrate on what really matters. Does this person help me become my best self? Do we fight life's obstacles as worthy allies? Can we build meaning together? Questions like, what gives your life meaning, and what's something you've changed your mind about recently, are different from the typical resume exchange. According to Marcus Aurelius, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The Stoics would refer to these inquiries as the only genuine goods, since they uncover knowledge and character traits. A man's ideas about what partnership really entails grow more evident the longer he is unmarried as he develops his inner world. The preparation that is contradictory. Here's the ultimate irony and the secret. I told you at the beginning, the longer a man practices this accidental stoicism of singlehood, the more prepared he becomes for a relationship of extraordinary depth. This is not just any relationship, not the kind based on neediness or completing each other or escaping loneliness, but something rarer, a partnership of two whole people who choose each other every day with their eyes wide open. I call it the paradoxical preparation because when you master the art of not needing a relationship, you become capable of having one that's truly worth having when you've learned to control your emotions instead of letting them rule you. When you've established a life of meaning on your own terms, you enter relationships differently and bring clarity instead of confusion and purpose. Instead of needing turmoil, the femur has healed. When asked about the earliest evidence of civilization, anthropologist Margaret Mead once made an interesting statement. Instead of pointing to tools or weapons, she pointed to a femur, a broken thigh bone that had healed. She explained that in the animal kingdom, if you break your leg, you die. You can't run from danger hunt for food or reach water. However, a repaired femur demonstrated that someone had taken care of the wounded party until they recovered, which is how partnerships developed to appear like two people who chose to support one another rather than rely on one another to exist. According to Epictetus, the accidental Stoic enters partnerships to find significance with another sovereign person rather than to avoid pain. He is a wise man who rejoices rather than laments what he has. In conclusion, if this struck a chord with you, please share your story in the comments section. Are you unintentionally adopting Stoicism in your single life, or have you discovered alternative philosophies that direct you to subscribe for more studies of contemporary manhood through ancient wisdom? Keep in mind, as the Stoics would say, the obstacle is the